Deputy Executive Director of Water and Land Resources. This particular question relates more to our permitting than it does to water supply planning. That's why I'm addressing it instead of Amy. I'm not in charge of our permitting, but I've got some awareness of how we do that. So I know that when we receive feedback or complaints from the public about those types of things, that we send people out to investigate it. So that's the first thing I would do. I imagine, lady did not specify, but I assume that she has done that as well. But I know that we have responded to those types of requests from the public, and we're certainly interested in terms of conservation. If crops aren't getting watered in an overspray situation, that would be interested in addressing those types of things. So we would, in a situation where identifying that there's a problem with water supply, one of the ways that we would handle that is implementing best management practices. If the district and the state, the Florida Department of Agriculture, are spending significant amounts of money in terms of helping improve agricultural irrigation efficiency, the types of situations that Ms. Langston has described wouldn't meet that, so we'd want to address it. So that will be our intention moving forward in any case, and I encourage her to contact our permitting department. I can provide a name to her now for the person to address, and be more than happy to.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, exactly what Ms. Langston's stating. I've several complaints I've received in the past, especially when it comes to the herbicide and pesticide overspraying that is going on with other people's property. And I know all of our ag business want to be good neighbors and we would appreciate any effort y'all would have whenever we get these types of complaints, that it is taken seriously and handled expeditiously as possible.
Our campaign addressed this on multiple levels. We ended up taking videos after we were told by Swanee River that the companies were compliant, because they have a flawed system of reporting, which is self-reporting. Self-reporting is so easy to report inaccurate information. They were reporting that they were compliant with their best management practices, and we proved them wrong through video documentation and numerous letters that I wrote on a daily basis corresponding with Swanee River Water Management District. So in the future, I think it would be very important that you oversee this very closely, because what they're reporting is not accurate. Thank you.
Mr. Diaz, just for clarification, in terms of overspray of water, crop irrigation, that type of stuff, that's something that falls under us. If it's a matter of pesticide or herbicide application, that's something that would go to DAX, because we don't have.
I understand. It's just the fact that when that overspray, when it is occurring, it does contain herbicide, pesticide.
Yeah. So it's in that case,
it has
it would be
adverse effect on other crops and other foliage and even animals.
indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Okay. Same, is that all?
That's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on down to number 4. Update from Crawford Powell. Come step forward, Mr. Powell.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I sent an update email a couple of weeks ago to Mr. Kaufman, so I won't read everything. I'm assuming that it probably got forwarded out to you guys, but I did want to give you some heads up. On the mattress manufacturing, we had a meeting in Tallahassee last week, which is still moving forward. He is still waiting on USDA funding, but again, the permits have been pulled, and so as soon as his funding is finalized, then he will be ready to break ground over on the Greenville location. His equipment supplier is waiting on him to break ground, so it's kind of a if A then B on that one. The concrete panel housing manufacturing group is still trying to determine what their market's gonna be. The hurricane kind of interrupted but enhanced their opportunities, so they're trying to determine how they can best get into that market for workforce housing. The juvenile justice facility over in Greenville is still in a renovation process, but they are moving along. They are also waiting on some final USDA funding, but they are moving along in their renovations over there to re-engage that facility. I facilitated a meeting Friday a week ago with a couple of groups that are looking at doing broadband. It was primarily their engineering guys that met to make sure that each group was agreeing with the engineering of how the plan would look to go forward on that. I think both sides were pleased with that. They're still ironing out a few of the details, but we expect them to be able to, formally announce that project's gonna move forward probably in about 90 days. The Magnalux, the LED lighting project that purchased the restaurant out near the industrial park, he is still waiting on his partners in China to decide what he's gonna do to confirm, what they're gonna do to confirm what he's going to do. I usually touch base with him every couple of weeks just to make sure everything's still on track. He said he's still confirmed from Madison. He's just waiting. The Chinese groups predominantly have run into issues because of the tariffs coming from the federal level. The medical marijuana treatment center that the commission supported to go in the industrial park is still in a holding pattern. Legislature is in office. As you know, it's been a goal of the governor to get these moving along. They were looking at some additional medical marijuana legislation that was on the table. They're hoping once session is through that the governor is going to release the licensing to continue on moving through that. We also, I have a call with them usually about every 2 weeks. I actually got a meeting with them this afternoon in Tallahassee. The Florida Rural Economic Development Summit was held about a month ago. Commissioner Davis and Mr. Kaufman also attended. It was primarily discussing rural development for all of Florida, but a lot of that was focused on workforce development, what they call soft skills, which Commissioner Davis deals with a lot of times at the technical school level and the high school level. But there was also a pretty robust discussion on what they call middle skills. High school graduates that don't go to technical school and don't go to college, which is fine, but how do you transition them from a high school education to what they call middle skills, where we need trained employees to go into that next level? So that's kind of a big issue. It's not just a Florida issue, but it's a big issue. Also at the summit, was able to meet Mr. Jamal Sewell, who is now the new Secretary of Commerce for Enterprise Florida, and also the new Executive Director of DEO, Mr. Ken Lawson. So it was an opportunity to have a couple of receptions with those gentlemen. At the summit, we did a rural breakout survey. We were broken up into groups. I was asked to present on site development, industrial park development for rural communities. A couple of months ago, I was also, just as an informational piece, I was asked to serve on the Northeast Florida Workforce Board here in town. And then also MCDC is sponsoring a Vision 2030 community forum. Most of you have probably seen the emails that have gone out on the questionnaire that has been submitted. That information has been finalized and being calculated. There will be a meeting on March 28th that evening. It will be at Madison Church of God as a community forum on the Vision 2030 planning. I would encourage as many of you as possible to attend if you can do that. That concludes.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. Any questions from the board?
I don't have any, Mr. for the update.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Carl.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that concludes our scheduled agenda. I'd like to ask our road department, Mr. Thigpen, how's our paving coming?
Well, let me give you an update.
Please.
Morning.
Morning.
Scruggs is pretty much through paving, Olive Street and Old Valdosta Road in Cherry Lake. They just have to do the seeding. They'll do that very soon. They've also finished paving Almond Street and, Shrine Club Road. We got a few places in there. We're gonna put sod. The rest of it be seed mulch as well. They're putting lime rock on, or they finished the lime rock on Floridina Road. They haven't paved it yet. They'll be paving that within the next few weeks. They're working on moving the right of way on Flowers Road now. We should finish putting lime rock in it within the next couple of weeks. They're paving, I think they're through Castleberry. They're paving Earnhardt Road now. Should finish it sometime next week possibly. And, they're getting Donaldson Road ready for lime rock. Probably start placing the lime rock on that road possibly tomorrow. I think they're about through with the lime rock on, Clover, and as soon as they can get the paving crew in there, they should pave that road. Overstreet down below Greenville, I'm not sure exactly when Anderson plans to move the paving crew in on that, but they'll be in the same workings as Donaldson Road. It'll be the same contract.
Any further questions from the board?
Could you, buddy, contact Mr. Lawrence, that he had some problems on this road, Oslo, I believe is the name of it. Check.
One that goes to where your chicken houses used to
Right in
be,
that
by the
area.
middle school?
Yeah,
Sure, I'll give him a call.
okay, appreciate it.
Have we done anything about the milling on, the one there just off of, Local Pond? I think Brian talked to you about it.
He had sent me an email, hadn't got back with you guys to see exactly what you wanna do there. My preference would be not to put the mill asphalt. The milling we have now doesn't bond together real well.
Okay.
And we have had issues in the past, you know, with the traffic, hesitancy to rub boards similar to sand. But, we can get together, we can do whatever you guys want.
Well, what would you recommend? There, I rode over it, it is pretty bumpy in some ways.
I mean, really, it's got mill asphalt there now.
Right.
Fix it, obviously
yeah.
you'd have to pay.
Well, it looks like it's all pretty much washed out, come out, going downhill, whatever.
Well, I think if we put new milling in with the experience we've had recently, it may even be worse than it is now, but,
Okay.
like I say, I can do whatever you guys wanna do.
Well, I think we have, lean to your recommendation, preference on what you think would be the best thing to do with it.
In order to fix it, you need to pay it.
Well, well,
I don't have the funds to do that.
no, I know, neither do we, so, but, well, we'll get together, talk about
Sure.
it. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Davis?
Just a few things I'll update on what's going on with the River Task Force. I met with Sierra Anderson, she's Senator Scott's aide for our region, Monday here at Annex, and they reached out to me wanting to get an update on what was going on with the Valdosta sewage area situation, and she assured me that that Senator Scott's keeping up with it, has a lot of interest in what's going on with that situation, as well as Rubio's office as well. I have a meeting, or actually I've been asked to attend and testify to the Senate Committee of Environment and Natural Resources next week. It's chaired by Senator Montford in Tallahassee at 4 p.m. It's on March 20th. So I'll be going to that and speaking to that committee about the situation. And we, as a task force, I think I mentioned last meeting, had some issues. We're trying to get on the agenda, or actually getting on the agenda with the City of Valdosta's council to discuss this issue, and as well as our goal or our ask was to form a workshop or hold a workshop on how we can collaboratively work together on solving this. And at first it was, in my opinion, not met real well. We were told we would have 3 minutes for citizen participation and would not put us on their agenda. But that's changed now. Scott Coons made contact with the city manager again last week, and apparently, through a lot of our citizen outreaches, it's reached some of their council members, and now they would like to hold a workshop. So, we have a workshop with a task force scheduled for April the 10th at 6 p.m. at the annex in Valdosta. So I think we've got a lot of good progress moving, and we just want to keep it moving keep it as on the front burner as much as we can. I know that the legislature now in Florida, several of the senators and representatives are taking a lot of interest in it, and of course, it is a federal issue, because this issue crosses state lines. And on the federal level, our main goal is of course, having EPA, which is the regulatory agency throughout, main one for Valdosta, is to work with them and keeping their standards where they need to be. So, that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Martin? Commissioner Walker?
That's all.
Commissioner Moore?
In addition to what Commissioner Davis has said, I used to travel to, and I still do sometimes, to Valdosta through the Nankin area. Used to see a lot of kayaking and canoeing and whatnot. It's been a long time since I've seen anybody doing that. I don't know if the timing has been off or people have lost interest. But, I don't have anything else, Mr. Chair.
In reference to that, I was driving back from Jennings Sunday from, service up there, and when I came across the bridge, I glanced over the Blue Springs parking lot and happened to notice a big white van with about 4 or 5 kayaks on it. That was refreshing to see. I hadn't seen that, and I couldn't tell you when. It's been years since I've seen vans with kayaks down there, but there was one down there Sunday afternoon. Mr. Clerk?
I have nothing, sir.
All right.
Mr. Chair, I do have one other thing. On that visioning session, I think on the 28th.
Right, 20,
Is that through the chamber?
MCDC.
CDC.
Okay.
What time was that again?
6.
6 o'clock. We need to be there.
So,
I plan
just
on
a
being-
clarification, does that need to be advertised if we're all gonna be there?
Yeah.
I think we need to make sure we do that.
Right, we all. We'll take care of that. Okay. All right, hearing no further comments,
Motion to adjourn.
thank you.